No worst, there is none. Pitched past, pitch of grief, more pangs will schooled at four pangs, wilder ring. Comforter, where? Where is your comforting? Mary, mother of us, where is your relief? My cries heave, herds long, huddle in amain and chief woe, world's sorrow, on an age-old anvil, wince and sing. Then lull, then leave off. Fury had shrieked, no lingering, let me be fell, force, I must be brief. Oh, the mind has mountains, cliffs of fall, frightful, sheer, no man fathomed, hold them cheap who ne'er hung there, nor does long our small durance deal with that steep or deep. Here, creep, wretch, under comfort serves in a whirlwind, all life death does end, and each day dies with sleep. Now, there's something strangely comforting about that almost shrieking hell broth of despair. And what it is the underlying creative intensity that takes an image like pitched past, pitch of grief, more pangs will schooled at four pangs wilder ring, and plays off of the semantic ambiguity and richness of the word pitch, which of course can mean pitch black in the sense of that tarish, sticky stuff that can be smeared upon you, and so it becomes a black that's a stand-in for the dark night of the soul, pitched past, pitch of grief. But it also can be pitched as in the sense of tossed or thrown away or hurled headlong flaming from the ethereal God with hideous ruin and combustion down to bottomless perdition, as Milton would write. Or it can be pitch in the sense of music, a strain of sound that is devilish and hellacious, devil's violins, demons' trumpets, the pitch of pure suffering, that bad, cacophonous, shrieking, hell broth music. So in one word and one image, you have these multiple meanings that coalesce and resonate with each other. And that is precisely what Gerard Manley Hopkins was an absolute master of. Gerard Manley Hopkins was a Victorian poet born in 1844, died in 1889. And yet there was no one in Victorian England who had the ears and the mind to hear just what magic Hopkins was performing, where language is distilled down into its raw, elemental, almost shamanistic, talisman, forceful utterances that coalesce in a saying that reaches so far beyond what can be said in prose. In a poem of suffering, and that very much is, it's part of 5 or 6 sonnets that he wrote in 1885, which are called collectively the terrible sonnets, not because they're bad, but because they reach so far into grief and yet move into a transformation. If you are in despair and anxious for some meaningful contact with a person or with God, some further union and deeper communion of meaningful connection, and you write, my cries are like dead letters sent to him who lives, alas, away. As soon as you realize what a dead letter is, that Victorian dead letter office, which would become the repository of every urgent message from one person to another that has gone astray, is undeliverable because of death or moving with no forward address, some kind of human despair. And it is a perfect figure if poetry ultimately is a kind of social communication of the depths of experience and being and thought that normally cannot be expressed in prose. A dead letter office is that black hole sucking the world of human colloquy and connection of further union and deeper communion right into a black hole of isolation and alienation. My cries like dead letters sent to him who lives, alas, away. Okay, the poem we're going to be looking at today by Hopkins is called the Windhover, and he wrote it in 1877. And basically, it is the experience of Hopkins walking out at the morning and seeing the amazing flight of a bird as it dives down and skates turning on the wind and then goes into another dive. And it stirs a whole reflection on Hopkins' part on the inward aesthetics and psychology and spirituality of diving, of submission. I caught this morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dapple dawn-drawn falcon, in his riding of the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy, then off, forth on swing as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend. The hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind. My heart in hiding stirred for a bird, the achieve of, the mastery of the thing, brute beauty and valor and act. O air, pride, plume here buckle, and the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times told lovelier, O my chevalier. No wonder of it, sheer plod makes plow down Cillian shine, and blue bleak embers, ah my dear, fall, gall themselves, and gash gold vermilion. Okay, impossible to understand that in a cognitive sense the first time through. But what we do know, we look at the poem, we listen to the poem, what we do know is the speaker is absolutely awed by the flight of the bird and the descriptions of it. I caught this morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dapple dawn-drawn falcon. So he's flying towards the dawn, dapple dawn-drawn falcon in his riding of the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy, then off, forth on swing. And you get the image of a skater going through a turn, and the falcon in the winds and air, and his dive and his curves, and it is stunningly beautiful. But then we move into the falcon's plummet, and this whole crux where it turns on the word buckle, and some intimation that in the fall is something far more glorious, a billion times told lovelier than just the smooth flight of the bird. And the image of blue bleak embers, ah my dear, fall, gall themselves, and gash gold vermilion, when we realize what's going on, is just astonishing. Anytime you have a fire that completely burns out, or you think it's completely burned out, and you have a waste of dark wood, and you drop it on the ground, suddenly it bursts into these radiant sparks in a miracle of rebirth and transformation. Hopkins says, blue bleak embers, ah, my dear, fall, gall themselves. In other words, fall, break open, and gash gold vermilion. And it's both an image of those sparks when the dark embers fall and break into light, and it's an image of a greater loss and sacrifice and rebirth. Gerard Manley Hopkins, astonishing poet. No one had ears to hear him until the catastrophe of the First World War brought in a sense of urgent modernity and receptivity to strange new rhythms and intensities. But he is a magnificent poet, and I urge you to read